Lukavich here.
Seifert here.
Chandler here.
Approval of minutes from September 26th. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
Hickman makes a motion, we approve the minutes of the September 26th, 2017 meeting.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Tippman, aye.
Johnson, aye.
Roy.
Lorick, aye.
Lukavich, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Significant common council actions. Carrie?
Council approved the following: a resolution approving a bus shelter easement with the City of Oak Creek and 1 West Drexel at 120 West Town Square Way. Also, a resolution approving a certified survey map for Oak Creek's water and sewer utilities at 9175, 9235, and 9325 South Fifth Avenue, and 3953 and 3975 East American Avenue. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. We have a public hearing tonight, an amendment to the comprehensive plan for the 2020 vision. Who has that one tonight? Carrie?
Official notice of the public hearing before the Oak Creek Plan Commission. Purpose of this public hearing is to consider an amendment to the 2020 vision, a comprehensive plan for the City of Oak Creek as it relates to the properties at 1700, 1750, 1800, 1816, 1820, 1830, 1848, 1850, 1900, and 1920 West Drexel Avenue. The hearing date is Tuesday, October 10th, 2017. The time is 6:00 p.m. at the Oak Creek City Hall, 8040 South 6th Street, Oak Creek, Wisconsin 53154 in the Common Council Chambers. The proposed amendment would update the planned land use category and map 2 in the comprehensive plan from single-family residential to planned mixed use for the properties at 1700, 1750, 1800, 1816, 1820, 1830, 1848, 1850, and 1900 West Drexel Avenue, and from single-family residential to limited development area for the property at 1920 West Drexel Avenue. No changes are proposed to the resource protection areas. The Plan Commission may schedule other public items or meetings for October 10, 2017. This hearing may begin at 6 p.m. or as soon as possible following the conclusion of any other public meeting items or public hearings. Any persons with questions regarding the proposed changes may call the Department of Community Development at 414-766-7027 during regular business hours. Date of the notice is August 31st, 2017, City of Oak Creek Plan Commission. Daniel J. Bukavich, Mayor. This is a public hearing. All those wishing to speak on this item should approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and clearly address the Plan Commission. This hearing is now open.
Thank you, Carrie. As Carrie said, we'll make 3 calls. Anybody wishing to speak, please approach the podium. Name and address is required. First call. Second call. Third and final call. We'll now close the public hearing. And if you would entertain me, we'll move on to item 6A. Carrie.
The proposal is to change the land use category and map in the comprehensive plan from single-family residential to planned mixed use. Again, no change to the resource protection areas. In consideration of future development plans for the properties involved, these include rezoning for some of the parcels with 3 exceptions to B6 Interstate Regional Retail District. The city-owned property at 1920 West Drexel Avenue would be changed from single-family residential to limited development area. Again, no change to the resource protection areas. There are no development plans for this parcel save for public infrastructure. There are 2 properties in the middle here that would not be changed for rezone, but just for comprehensive plan purposes. The comprehensive plan was amended at the end of 2015 for parcels in the immediate area, excluding the subject parcels in this request. Planned mixed use allows for the comprehensive development that could include professional office, residential, and commercial uses, which is consistent with the intent and goals for the development of the area as mentioned in the 2015 Comprehensive Plan Amendment Report. The State of Wisconsin Smart Growth Law requires that all local land use decisions after January 1st, 2010 be consistent with the goals objectives, and policies contained within the comprehensive plan. Approval of these changes to the comprehensive plan would bring the plan in line with the intent and goals for future development for the properties in this request. The suggested motion, should the Plan Commission choose to approve this, is that the Plan Commission adopts Resolution 2017-07, amending the comprehensive plan and plan land use map to reflect the changes in land use from single-family residential to planned mixed use for the properties at 1700, 1750, 1800, 1816, 1820, 1830, 1848, 1850, and 1900 West Drexel Avenue, and from single-family residential to limited development area for the property at 1920 West Drexel Avenue. No change to the resource protection areas, following a public hearing and adoption by the Common Council. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. This time I'll open it up for questions and comments from the commission. Wally?
Carrie, that property, that 1920, I don't know which one that is, but it makes it sound like we're going to be rezoning it next time at the next meeting, and it's going to be rezoned to institutional. Now, I was just wondering which is the property and what are we planning on?
1920 is the city-owned property that's immediately adjacent to IKEA Way, the road.
Okay,
So it's on the east side of the road. The reason that it's going to be rezoned is because it doesn't really fit into any other zoning category. So institutional, because it's city-owned, seemed to make sense. It could go to a B district, but we're proposing I-1.
okay, for now, I-1, so in the future, if something comes up, we could change it. Okay.
We could
thank you.
change it, but at this time, it's for city infrastructure.
Okay, thank you.
Brian?
If I can just add to that too, that lot is currently used for the compensating floodplain storage. So there's basically like a big holding area on that property.
Okay.
So that's what it's being used for now. Just curious, the notification map in the packet excludes the two properties in the middle? Is that,
It doesn't exclude it, it just improperly highlighted them.
oh, okay. But this change to the comprehensive plan includes all the properties there, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Brad, anything?
Do we still have the resident on that property? There's one of those properties. Is he still there?
Yes.
And is there any effect to his property as long as he's there?
Changing the comprehensive plan does not immediately change anything to the property. So in the future, should that property come up for development, if they want to rezone it, they can come and ask for it to be rezoned. But right now, the comprehensive plan change is recognizing that the area is changing from residential to a more commercial future use.
Chair Chandler, anything? No? I don't have anything. I mean, it fits our plan going forward, so pretty straightforward, and we have no residents and objections. So we'll look for a motion.
Lorick moves that the Plan Commission adopt Resolution 2017-07, amending the comprehensive plan and planned land use map to reflect the changes in land use from single-family residential to planned mixed use for the properties at 1700, 1750, 1800, 1816, 1820, 1830, 1848, 1850, and 1900 West Drexel Avenue, and from single-family residential to limited development area for the property at 1920 West Drexel Avenue. No change to the resource protection areas, following a public hearing and adoption by the Common Council.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Hickman, aye.
Johnston, aye. Lorick, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Okay, if we could please, go back to next public hearing, 5B, sign appeal for the Drexel Square Hotel Group. Pete?
It's me, yes. Sign appeals. You know who that is. All right, I'll read the public hearing notice into the record. City of Oak Creek notice of public hearing before the Plan Commission. A public hearing for a sign appeal will be held Tuesday, October 10th, 2017 at 6 p.m. at the Oak Creek City Hall Common Council Chambers, 8040 South 6th Street, Oak Creek, Wisconsin, 53154. The appellant is Drexel Square Hotel Group, represented by Chad Crum. Tax key number 813-9033000. Property is located at 7980 South Market Street. Applicant is requesting a variance from section 17.0334, part of the General Development Plan and Regulating Plan, which states that one primary sign is permitted only on an entry facade and not to exceed 100 square feet in area. If granted, the variance would allow the applicant to install one 154 square foot wall sign on the east elevation, an entry facade, one 154 square foot wall sign on the west elevation, a non-entry facade, and one 152 square foot wall sign on the north elevation of the building located at 7980 South Market Street. Zoning of the property is DTS MUPDD, Drexel Town Square Mixed Use Plan Development District. All interested persons wishing to be heard are invited to be present. Dated this 27th day of September 2017. Planning Commission, City of Oak Creek, Wisconsin. Signed, Mayor Daniel J. Bukowitz, Chairman. This is a public hearing, and anyone who wishes to make a comment regarding the subject of this hearing to step up to the podium, state your name and address, and proceed to address the commission with your comments. This public hearing is now open.
Thank you, Pete. We will make 3 calls. This is the first call. Anybody wishing to speak, please approach podium, name and address. Second call. Third and final call. We will now close the public hearing and move on to 6B.
All right, to give you a little bit more background into the signs, up on the screen are graphics showing what the applicant is proposing to install on the building. This is on the east elevation. Blow it up a little bit bigger so you can see. It is located on the top floor of the central portion of the building. It is 154 square feet, as you guys have all been informed many times before. We do the smallest regular box around all elements of the sign. Well, if you look underneath Town Place, there is a bunch of blank space that they're getting counted toward their 154 square feet. So you take that out, it gets closer to the 100. However, the way the ordinance is written, that's how it's calculated, and so a variance is required. On the east side, it is an entrance facade, so the only variance requested for the east elevation is for the size. We'll go to the other elevation. On the west end, same size. The only difference is that the element of Marriott is switched over. Instead of being underneath suites, it's underneath Town Place. Same, as I said before, same size, located in the central part of the building on the top floor. The north entrance, it's centered on the top floor of the building. This one's slightly smaller, 151.63. I called it 152 in the public hearing notice. This one does, all elements do pretty much add up to the 151 square feet. Don't have as much dead space as the other 2 signs. So here the applicant is looking for a variance for 154 square foot sign along with being on a non-entry facade. With that said, staff does not make recommendations on sign appeals. However, if the Plan Commission believes a variance should be granted, the Plan Commission can make a motion to grant a variance allowing for the installation of one 152 square foot wall sign on the north elevation, one 154 square foot wall sign on the west elevation, and one 154 square foot wall sign on the east elevation of the building submitted by Town Place Suites for the development located at 7980 South Market Street. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Pete. At this time, I'll open it up for questions and comments from the commission. Commissioner Chandler, you want to go first?
Yes. So I have a question for the applicant.
Name and address, please.
Sure. Mark Ostendorf. I'm the opening general manager, Town Place Suites, Milwaukee, Oak Creek, 7980 South Market Street in Oak Creek, 53154.
Can you give us a little more information on why such a large sign?
Absolutely. So looking at the city of Oak Creek predominantly has 1 and 2 story structures with a sign of 100 square feet. If you look at a 3 and 4 story building, obviously the larger you go to be able to see it, you're going to have a larger sign. Taking into account what was mentioned before, if this is your 100 square feet, with 154, we have probably a good third of it, which is dead space not being used. If you went with 100 square feet, the sign company has stated that the Marriott probably won't even be able to be lit or seen because it's so small and such a large structure. So if you went with the premise that 100 square feet would be for a 1- and 2-story structure, you could argue that 200 square feet would be for a 3- and 4-story structure. We would be only using 154 square feet and not even all of that. So we think it fits the need of the city to be in a size ordinance, as well as to be able to be seen and not just a beacon of something that is irrelevant.
Can you also provide a little more information on why you have selected 1 non-entry facade?
Yes, Marriott as a whole, when building these structures, is the latest design for a Town Place Suites. Marriott does have 3 entries because I figure if you're coming up going east on Drexel or west on Drexel, you're going to see those, but also on the other design coming in. So it's also leading people to Drexel Town Square, making it easier to drive around because you can find it, whereas on Google Maps, we all know that since this development is a relatively new development, certain elements don't even show on Google Maps. It'll make traffic easier, but also bring more traffic to the area, which the restaurants will love, everybody else who's doing around the area. So it conforms in with what Marriott as a whole has done with their other properties, and taking in mind also the development here and the vision of the city of Oak Creek.
Now, I have a question for Pete. So for some of our 3- to 4-story buildings, what are the sizes of those signs?
Well, we only have one other 4-story building in the area, and that's Freightert. And they came for a sign appeal, and they took a different tack. They asked for more signs on a wall. They had 2 100-square-foot signs. So you look at Freightert and the medical college, it's really 200 square feet. So this is comparable to a neighboring wall sign you'll see in DTS.
Thank you.
I have a question. Is this sign illuminated at all?
It is illuminated in red, but it is not a beacon of red that's going to shine throughout the whole entire city, be a problem for anybody living in any of the apartment structures nearby. It's the same illumination as most would be. And in fact, because it's 154 square feet and not double the size or larger in a 4-story structure, you can argue the lighting will be less of a hindrance than 100 square foot on a 1-story or 2-story structure.
Will the sign have any backing on it? Some signs at that size usually have a backing to reflect rather than just the building.
It's just the light.
On a building.
Just the light inside, right behind in a part of the sign.
Fine. Ollie?
Of course.
No, that's good.
The drawings which were presented to us, they do show the signs. Is that pretty representative of the space it'll take on the building?
Absolutely, 100%.
That's the way it's going to look?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure they were just wanted to put on there, but they're going to look bigger, et cetera.
No worries. Love the question.
Okay, thank you.
I myself have a question.
Sure.
Will they be on a photometric eye that's going to turn them on at dusk and dawn? Or do you have
Absolutely.
set hours corporately? that they
It'll
have?
be dusk and dawn. It's typical to every other building that has a lighting structure.
I myself, although it's, technically a third larger than we allow, again, we go round and round with this. For a building that size, I don't have a lot of heartburn over it. I get the north side, the east, and the west. So,
I have one quick question.
yes, please.
I know we just received this packet.
That's coming up. On the,
Oh,
mon-
okay.
the monument's
So
a
not this
separate
one.
motion.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Motion.
I'm going to make a motion that the Plan Commission should grant a variance allowing for the installation of one 152-square-foot wall sign on the north elevation, one 154-square-foot wall sign on the west elevation, and one 154-square-foot wall sign on the east elevation of the building submitted by Town Place Suites for the development located at 7980 South Market Street.
Chandler seconds.
Roll call.
Hickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, I.
Thank you. Now, if we could go back to 5C, another sign appeal for Steinhoffels. Pete.
All right, I will read the public hearing notice into the record. City of Oak Creek, notice of public hearing before the Plan Commission. A public hearing for a sign appeal will be held Tuesday, October 10th, 2017, 6 p.m., Oak Creek City Hall, Common Council Chambers, 8040 South 6th Street, Oak Creek, Wisconsin, 53154. Appellant Steinhoffels, represented by Jones Sign Company, tax key number 877-9009-001. Property is located at 9191 South 13th Street. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 17.0706 sub E, which states that pole signs shall not exceed 25 feet in height. If granted, the variance would allow the applicant to install a 90-foot tall, 658 square foot pole sign located at 9191 South 13th Street. Zoning the property, B4 PUD, Highway Business District, Planned Unit Development. All interested persons wishing to be heard are invited to be present, dated this 27th day of September 2017. Plan Commission, City of Oak Creek, Wisconsin, signed Mayor Daniel J. Bukowicz, Chairman. This is a public hearing. If anybody in the audience would like to make a comment regarding the subject of the hearing, please step forward to the podium, state your name and address, and proceed to address the commission with your comments. This public hearing is now open.
Thank you, Pete. Anybody wishing to speak on the item? This is the first call. Welcome. Name and address, please.
Peters, Jones Sign Company, 1711 Shering Road, De Pere.
Okay.
So the Steinhoffel sign was brought to the commission last year, and it was approved to modify the existing structure that's on site to add a new cabinet and an EMC. It was approved. Now, since that time, it has been found that the foundation has been deteriorating and is cracked and is an unsafe structure. Because of that is why we are now looking to propose a new sign for Steinhoffels. We did our due diligence. We worked with engineers to see what we could do to still reuse that existing structure, and basically it is unsafe. So there's no way that we want to put up a new cabinet or AMC on that sign, just for safety reasons. So we are proposing a new sign, which is more aesthetically appealing. The pole cover, using the same cabinet and EMC that were previously approved last year for the sign. So it's the same square footage, same size EMC. And it's keeping within what is already existing. It's keeping within other signs that you see along the highway. It's we're proposing a 90-foot overall height sign, which is actually less than what is currently existing. It is, like I said, we're looking to, do the pole cover, make it look better than just the actual pole sign itself. And it's because basically we don't want to, safety reasons, we don't want to use that existing structure. And we're just keeping within what was previously approved.
Okay, thank you. Is that it? We'll open it up for questions. Oh, whoop, I'm sorry. Oh, three calls. Totally got lost. Thank you very much. Boy, they keep me on track. Second call. Third and final call. Okay, we will close the public hearing and we will move on to item 6C. So now we'll open it up to the commission. I think I was going to my right this time. Fred?
Okay. I'm a little concerned about the electronic message center. I think it's a distraction on an interstate. I think people try to look at that and read the message and so forth. And I am really not in favor of those messages on the interstate. I agree with the store sign itself, that you can see where it is, but I'm not in favor of the electronic message center.
If I can add a comment there. Tonight's hearing is actually on the height of the sign and not the type of sign. A year ago, this commission took a look at the proposal for the cabinet as well as the EMC board, and at that time approved allowing this going forward. So the question tonight before the commission is not necessarily the EMC board and the cabinet, it's the overall height. The original sign was 95 feet. They're proposing 90 feet. And so the question before the commission tonight is whether or not a 90-foot sign should be granted. Because right now, code would only allow them to have a 25-foot tall sign. And if you look on the, if you can see on the graphics, I'll blow it up. If you just include the cabinet and the EMC board, it's 24 feet 5 inches. So basically it would be sitting on the ground if it were to try to meet the pole sign requirements that we currently have in place.
And I agree, but after thinking about it from the last meeting to this, I've watched some of those signs on the interstate, and I'm just expressing my opinion that I am not in favor of those.
Oh, that's fine. I just want to make sure that there
I
wasn't
under-
any kind of confusion that
Right.
we were approving the type of sign. It's
Okay.
just the height. I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Right.
Dossie?
I have a question for Pete. So are we not approving the size? 'Cause it sounds like the size is larger.
No,
Is that
I included in the staff
It's not.
report that I would work with the applicant to get the size into conformance with the PUD. A reason I brought that in, I include that in the report, is the fact that this is a tall sign. It's a 90-foot tall sign that's out on the side of the freeway. If you're going to have a 90-foot tall sign, let's work to get it compliance with the PUD. So that's why I included that in there, just for reference. So when talking about granting a variance, is there anything that can be done to keep the size of the sign from getting to be the largest sign in the city of Oak Creek along the interstate?
And I also have a question for the applicant.
Oh, Sarah Peters, Jones Sign Company. Sorry.
Okay, I noticed there are two options that are provided. I just wanted to get a little more information on, besides the difference of two poles versus one, the feedback of why, or if one is better than the other.
No, we just wanted to show just a couple different options, if one, the commission favored one over the other. We're not set on one, so.
Then a question for Pete. Could we leave it open just for the 90-foot tall pole sign, or do we have to pick one or put both?
For
In the
the,
motion.
for the variance request, you're just granting the height.
Okay.
It'd be 90 feet, 60 feet, whatever it is that the commission feels is appropriate for this location. It's up to the discretion of the commission. As for monopole versus the two-pole, that's up to the applicant of what they would prefer to have. Sarah seemed to ask for some feedback as to what, if there was a preference from this commission. They're more than willing to entertain it, but just keep in mind that would not be part of the variance request.
Thank you.
Annette? Wally?
Well, Pete just brought out that if we had a choice between one or the other, we're not showing it here, the single pole, but I think that looks much more modern, less poles you're looking at along the freeway. So I myself personally, and even though it's not part of our motion, I would prefer the single pole. I don't know if you can throw that up there or not.
Up there?
Oh, it's up there now.
I can,
sorry.
yeah, it's almost identical. I can just flip between the two.
I think it looks much better, the single.
Dawn?
And my question is whether we should have a tall pole at all. Would you, if we went down to the 25 foot that the city states, Would you be able to see it from the expressway?
With the vegetation and the fencing, I don't know if it would be very, very visible from the road. I couldn't say exactly. I don't think it would be blocked 100%, but it wouldn't be as visible when you put it up free of any tree line or any other visual encumbrances that could be along the ground. Because the EMC board would be pretty much 7 inches off the ground.
And my concern is that as these poles get older, we're going to get rid of them throughout the city. Is this a great opportunity to start with this one? There are other cities that would never let this in their cities this tall, and is this a great opportunity to bring it back down to eye level? You can definitely see the store from the street or from the highway. So that would be my question.
Molly?
Could this be, Pete, called being grandfathered in because it was there before?
The new sign, no.
No,
No,
okay.
before when we visited this proposal a year ago, they were going to use the existing poles. So since the sign was already there, we could grandfather the height. That was not an issue. The question was the size. Well, because as Sarah stated, the foundation is shot and needs to be replaced, so they need to reconstruct it. Well, now, because they did that, the size is not necessarily the issue as much as the height. And so the question is now, do we want to continue to have a 90-foot tall pole sign along the interstate? Is that what the commission wants?
I believe that the city does in their code allow for taller signs, just because this is not located in a certain zoning district. They're restricted to 25 feet, but I believe in other zoning districts, they are allowed taller signs.
That is correct. B6, the destination retail, does allow for taller signs.
This tall?
That's the IKEA. IKEA has a 100-foot tall, 600 square foot tall sign
So
that will be along the freeway next year.
you wouldn't get rid of them because it's still in your code, so we're just keeping with what, you know, what your other zoning districts do allow too.
We do only allow pole signs in the B4 and the B6.
This is B4, but PUD,
Right.
same as just plain B4.
Right, the PUD allows, this PUD, when it was created, had a different way to count signage. It was the total square footage, or it was three and a half times the frontage of the property. Don't ask me how that formula was created. I couldn't explain it to you, but it allowed them basically to build like 1,500 square feet worth of signage. That's why you had the large Steinhoffel sign. As long as it didn't go over 750 square feet, you could go on a wall sign, very large. They have the mattress. The other side is the Clarence Terrace, thank you. They had the pole sign out front. They had the pole sign along the interstate. All that totaled stayed within that overall square footage. It didn't matter the number of signs or size. You know, the size only limit was 750. That's what's unique about this particular site compared to a regular straight B4 district. B4 district pole sign, 25 feet tall, 20 feet from the lot line, no more than 100 square feet in area. That's your straight B4 pole sign parameters.
Brian, anything?
I think anytime we can get rid of a pole sign, we should take that opportunity. A 90-foot high sign is kind of overkill in my mind for this. If it's a reconstruction, I think we can bring this down and do something else.
And we are willing to work with the height of it.
Sure. Name and address, please.
I'm Dirk Stallman, the marketing director for Steinhoffel's Waukesha, Wisconsin. I was here a year ago, and I understand where you're coming from. We did try to come down on this sign a little bit to bring it down. Where's the right number? Pretty subjective. I don't know. I mean, IKEA has a 100-foot sign. We've got 90, 85, 80, 70. Where do we stop? I think 25 feet off the ground is going to be extremely limiting. That EMC is going to be absolutely blaring from a highway distance. So is it realistic to expect a code to hold up the same on interstate businesses versus something in the city. And I know this is something we've discussed in Kenosha extensively, not suggesting that there's a solution, but there is certainly a discussion about it. So, yeah, it's challenging. We are definitely willing to work with it, but I don't think 25 feet is the answer either.
I don't necessarily have a problem with the height of it. It's shorter than the one that's there. There are going to be at least one other taller sign going down the freeway there. I mean, you have the Burlington Coat Factory and those businesses that all have tall signs. I do agree that 25 feet with all the trees and brush in that area, you're probably not going to see it driving by at freeway speeds. Whether it needs to be 90, I don't know that answer either. But it's shorter than the one that's already there. I don't have an issue with it. Looking at the two options, especially if it is going to be masonry, like the color picture shows.
Simulated, it's going to be printed on there to simulate masonry.
Okay. I prefer the two-pole one, but that's just me.
We're split.
Okay. Jossie, one word. Got something else?
So, for clarity, the pole is 90 feet tall, and then the sign above it is how large?
Overall height of the sign will be 90 feet.
Oh, the total will be 90 feet. Okay. And so for the B4 district, what is the maximum height? B6 is,
B6, I can't remember the exact limit on the height on that one, but the B4 is 25 feet.
that's the 25, okay.
Memory serves me correctly, there was a different sign appeal maybe a couple of years ago looking to create a pole sign, which was Peterbilt. And the reason I'm bringing it up was that I believe they asked for an 80-foot because that could get over any tree line. So to kind of ask the question, what's that arbitrary height? There's full mature trees along the interstate there. They felt that they could be 80 feet tall and still be able to clear any type of vegetation. So if that provides any sort of rationale as to 90 feet, 80 feet, is that 10 feet going to make a difference when you're driving 75 on the freeway? Are you going to be able to tell, oh yeah, that sign that's an 80-foot tall sign. That's not a 90-foot tall sign. Are you going to be able to do that? I can't tell you that. I mean, that's going to be something to consider, but we did bring up, is there any opportunity to discuss height? That would be something that was brought up in the past for minimum height along the freeway.
I guess I'll throw my 2 cents out there. I look at it this way. We approved that pole and the design of it the way it was on the existing. I'm not seeing much difference here, so I'm okay with the 90-foot height. Greg has a good point. Burlington's out there. I couldn't tell you how tall it is, but I know it's tall. The Peterbilt was a good quarter mile probably off the expressway when we considered that one. This one sits directly on the expressway. I don't know what your Waukesha store has height-wise, but I know they have a sign. You don't?
No, not in
Okay.
Waukesha.
Okay. Kenosha, you got one? Yes. Okay. I personally, I like the sign to be able to see it before I get to it. As you said, by the time you're past Ryan Road, then you see the building and you're doubling back. Whereas if you can see it before that Ryan Road bridge, I think that's an advantage. Myself, although it's not part of the package, the electronic board, I'm okay with it. How else would my wife figure out we need new furniture? So, but I'm okay with it. Me, myself, I kind of agree with Wally. I think the single pole is a little more modern looking. I would say if you want to work with staff to bring it down to 80, but I am okay with the 90. Again, we're going to have 100 down the way. I think this is a little different being on being on the expressway. So it lends a little difference to it. You typically do see these signs up that high, particularly if it's a store like this and other areas. I can cite some places in West Dallas that have it around Highway 100. There's a number of people that have some large signs there. I will say this, electronics are not allowed in West Allis, but they have quite a good reason for it. They literally have billboard signs in their downtown area, and if they allowed it in one area, they'd have to allow it in all. So again, I look at it this way. If that foundation was okay, it would have been up there at 95 feet. So I'm not seeing a big deal now. And I applaud you for coming forward on the foundation, or at least the company for saying we wouldn't do it and doing the right thing rather than creating a safety hazard.
Thank you. We absolutely, and this is why it took so long, we did everything we could to keep it in the existing location with the existing footings. We actually suspect that the reason that existing cabinet disintegrated is there was a pretty significant wind shear on it that actually caused that foundation to crack because the timing was fairly similar. So that's what really did it in for that structure, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else from the commission?
Just a quick.
Yeah, Wally, please.
Just a quick one. If you put up a new pole, and I'm saying single pole, but I don't care. But I mean, you obviously have to take out the old foundation. Are there some new advances in foundations that would really make this even more stable than what, it would have been before?
We work with engineers, licensed engineers. They look at the soil conditions, they look at the surrounding area, and they create footings that, will fit that area. So yeah, we go the extra length to make sure that the sign is not going to fall down.
I thought so, but I just thought I'd
Yep.
ask.
Yep, we do that for all freestanding signs that we build. Can the commission approve the sign as is, or is the square footage not?
That will not be part of this
It's
variance request.
just the
This is,
height.
yeah, this is focused on the height, so I think we'll be fine with the overall sign.
Just got a question for Pete. How far does that sign have to be off from the road?
20 feet.
20 feet? So if you're talking 90 feet and you got 20 feet, you could have a problem landing on the highway.
That could be a concern. I believe the applicant worked with the DOT about concerns about that, if that would ever become an potential obstruction in the freeway.
Yes, we did contact the DOT a while ago. We got their approval. It meets all their criteria. I know the EMC is not part of it, but they even have regulations that we have to follow for the EMC. So there are rules and regulations that the sign does meet.
Not, motion?
Oracle move that the Plan Commission grant a variance along the installation of a 90-foot tall pole sign that's no larger than 750 square feet on the west side of the parcel along I-94, located at 9191 South 13th Street.
Dickman, second.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, no.
Grillo, no.
Lorick, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Seifert, no.
Chandler, aye.
Where'd we wind up?
What are we at?
Or 3 yes, right?
Thanks, I wasn't counting well either. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Takes care of our public hearings. We are now on to item 6D. Another sign plan review. Go ahead, Pete.
Yep, I'll take this one. We've done this once before for another applicant where in Drexel Town Square, you always need a sign plan approved by the Plan Commission prior to building permits being done. Well, to help expedite Town Place Suites, instead, we needed to do their appeal and their plan on the same night. So you're going to see a lot of familiar descriptions for the wall signs. And we prepared for the case that if a variance was not going to be granted, we would still look at the proposed plan sign with the conditions that they meet the zoning code, 100 square feet, non-entry facade, but we would have been able to still review the sign plan tonight. So What, again, we're going to be talking about is Town Place Suites at 7980 South Market Street. Let me just bring up the digital packet. All right, as talked about earlier this evening, the Plan Commission did grant variances allowing for 3 wall signs to be located on this site, on the east, the west, and the north. So at this point, it does comply with the Drexel Town Square with the variance allowing to have wall signs on a non-entry facade. Also exceeding the 100 square feet. They're proposing that as well, the 154 on the east and west and the 152 on the north. The one part that we haven't talked about for signs for Town Place Suites is the ground sign. And at your desk this evening, the applicant was able to provide an updated graphic for the wall sign. In my packet, I have the concept design, but the colors and the designs did not match completely with the design standards for DTS. If you, in your handout that you have, you'll notice that on the fin, there will be a Drexel logo. The style of numbers will match with DTS, which is a Gothic, not something Gothic. It's a special font style that matches the rest of Drexel Town Square. The fin would also be perforated, similar to what you see at Chick-fil-A and PetSmart already here. Also, compared to the graphic that I have on screen, there is an aluminum frame around the whole Town Place Suites Marriott, where this one doesn't have it. They do show that does comply, as well as the brick base. They show a red brick in the packet, but in the handout, it's the cream color, which matches all the other ground signs throughout the district. The applicant is only proposing, as part of their sign plan, the 3 primary signs, the 1 ground sign, and no eye-level signs at this time. So if the applicant does look to change, to add something to their glazing, they will have to come before the Plan Commission for approval prior to being installed. With that said, staff does make the suggested motion that, I lost my, here we go. That the Plan Commission approve the sign plan submitted by Town Place Suites for the development located at 7980 South Market Street. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Pete. I'll open it up for questions, comments from the commission. Nothing from Dawn? Brian? Nothing? Greg? Wally?
We already looked at the sign plan for the 3 pieces of it, so the only extra one is the monument sign, that's all.
Fred?
Is this sign illuminated again? Or,
So the wall signs are yes, the monument sign no.
no, okay.
Oh, hang on.
I would think it would
No,
be.
I don't think it is.
Really?
Let me double check.
Is the applicant in? Yeah. Oh, no, that's a north
Checking
elevation.
notes.
Monument sign.
Mark Ostendorf again, Town Place Suites, 7980 South Market Street, Oak Creek. It would be illuminated. But again, it would go off on the sensor and not be illuminated all day. Otherwise, it would be a safety hazard not to have it. It would deter, as most guests come in after dusk or so it points people in the right direction.
It'll be located on West Town Square Way at the entrance of the development.
And the lettering would be white, though, versus red
Correct.
on the building.
Correct.
Okay.
Where would this sign also be located? I didn't,
If you look at your packet, it's actually on Town Square Way as you're by their parking lot, across from the PetSmart entrance. Well, not quite.
By the across from the apartment complex, right behind Gigi's parking
Yeah.
lot entrance.
By that
be-
back parking lot where you'd enter.
The bus stop is there as well, to give reference.
Commissioner Chandler?
Yes, I have a question. Okay, we have the 2 different monument signs. Which one is the right color? Is it
The
One that
cream
you just
color?
showed?
The cream color.
Oh, the cream is.
Yes.
Okay.
That's in confirmation. We worked with Nate and Wispark and everybody else to make sure it showed exactly 100% of the element instead of just saying it's going to meet the element. That way, if you had any questions, you could see that you're comparing apples to apples.
Is this the color of the building?
It is not the color of the building. It's a color that the Wispark has designated as a color, so every one is exactly the same.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Motion?
Dickman makes a motion, the Plan Commission approve the sign plan submitted by Town Place Suites for the development located at 7980 South Market Street.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call?
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Good luck. Thank you very much. Next, 6E, conditions and restrictions for a permit submitted by the Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility for the water treatment facility and storage and high service distribution pumps facilities located at the properties at 9175, 9235, 9325 South 5th, and 3953, 3975 East American Avenue. Carrie?
Plan commissioners will recall that this was recommended for approval at the last meeting on September 26th. Ron is not available to be at tonight's meeting. He did not express any concerns with the proposed conditions and restrictions that are in your packet. There's really nothing different from what was approved previously. The only thing is the update to the site plan that was submitted. Time of compliance is still 12 months, same setback requirements, same requirements for maintenance and operation, parking, lighting, setbacks, etc. So if there are any questions from the Plan Commission, I can try and field those. However, if you are satisfied with the conditions and restrictions as stated, the suggested motion is that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council adopts the conditions and restrictions as part of the conditional use permit for water treatment facility, water storage, and high-service distribution pump facilities on the properties at 9175, 9235, 9325 South Fifth Avenue, and 3953 and 3975 East American Avenue after a public hearing. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. As Carrie stated, Ron's been here a couple of times on this. We've covered it pretty extensively, but if you have questions, Carrie will do her best. Anybody?
Thanks for making it easy on me.
All right. Motion.
Johnston moves that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council adopt the conditions and restrictions as part of the conditional use permit for the water treatment facility, water storage, and high-service distribution pump facilities on the properties at 9175, 9235, and 9325 South Fifth Avenue, and 3953 and 3975 East American Avenue after a public hearing.
Chandler, second.
Roll call.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Seifert abstains as a member of the commission.
Thank you.
Chandler, aye.
Thank you very much. No one's here from the water department, but good luck. Item 6F, conditions and restrictions for a conditional use permit submitted by the Olympic Real Estate Holdings LLC for a freight yard, freight terminal transshipment depot, uses on the property at 10450 South Oakview Parkway. Carrie?
So you'll recall again at the last meeting, September 26th, that this was recommended for approval. If anybody has any questions about the category of freight yard, freight terminal, transshipment depot, that is the category in code. This will allow for distribution facilities on the property if that helps clear up any confusion. There are conditions and restrictions that have been submitted for Plan Commission review. Under Item 2A, page 1 of 5, all requirements of the City of Oak Creek Municipal Code as amended are in effect. That is a new statement for the conditions and restrictions. It just makes it clear that anything not previously or not stated in these conditions and restrictions specifically are still required. On page 2 of 5, under 3, site use restrictions, maintenance and operation requirements, all trucks and trailers shall be parked in designated parking stalls on the east side of the property. There shall be no outdoor storage of materials, equipment, or supplies, and there shall be no maintenance of vehicles on the property, making it very clear that this is for an approval of distribution facilities only. Under 4, parking and access, parking for this development shall be provided in accordance with the approved Oakview Business Park Plan unit development conditions and restrictions as amended. Site plans approved by the commission on September 27, 2016 as amended, and sections of code as stated. The setbacks for the development as well as for the PUD are stated in item 6. Time of compliance is standard at 12 months. And those are the proposed conditions and restrictions. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. However, if the Plan Commission feels that the conditions and restrictions as proposed are approvable, then a suggested motion is that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council adopts the conditions and restrictions as part of the conditional use permit for freight yard, freight terminal, and transshipment depot uses on the property at 10450 South Oakview Parkway after a public hearing. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Now open it up for questions and comments from the commission. Nothing? Brian?
Any hours of operation that we need to have in here?
Hours of operation are going to be as required by the individual users. Since this is within the PUD, it is an M1 district, so hours of operation are not necessarily as restrictive or, not the word that I'm looking for, they're not as concerning because it's within this plan development. There was something that was submitted as part of the site plan review that stated that hours of operation for the entire development or for this particular parcel would be pretty much between 6 and 6. Perhaps that individual users would go a little bit outside of that. However, there is a distribution facility for Greco that is on the Kinney corner from this property, and they will have more 24/7 operations.
Commissioner Dickman?
These are pretty straightforward. I just want to make sure that the applicant agrees with them all, or do we hear any concerns from them, or?
I have not received any, however, if they have any concerns that they wish to express at this time.
On. Alderman Lorik? No? Okay, motion.
Seifert moves that the Planning Commission recommends that the Common Council adopt the conditions and restrictions as part of a conditional use permit for freight, yard freight, terminal, transshipment depot used on the property at 10450 South Oakview Parkway after a public hearing.
Oracle second.
Lorik, second. Roll call, please.
Dickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorik, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
And item 6G, conditional use permit amendment to review a request submitted by Chris Newty, Quick Trip for a conditional use permit for outdoor display of retail merchandise on the property at 6300 South 27th Street. Carrie?
This proposal is for the outdoor storage and display of specifically ice and propane retail merchandise, and it's going to be outside of the existing convenience store. We've seen a couple of these brought before the Plan Commission specifically for ice and propane in other locations at other Quick Trips. So this is the overall site plan. This is the corner of College and 27th Street, and specifically the location is on the southwest corner of the existing convenience store. This is a little bit difficult to read. This is their existing layout. They are aware that there are some things that are stored outside currently that are not actually allowed by the current conditional use permit for the property. So what they're proposing is that they have their ice and propane basically on the southwest corner. The other highlighted area down here on the south next to the entrance is actually trash or recycling containers. Those are not part of the request because those are not something we regulate. The requirement for the restriction or the suggestion for the restriction to just ice and propane is consistent with other recommendations and other conditional use permits that have been granted in the city, so that's why we are suggesting it here. No other retail merchandise would be allowed to be stored or displayed outside of the retail store, including but not limiting to under the fueling canopies. We're making that very clear. It is a concern for the fire department, so we're trying to get rid of that in advance. There are conditions and restrictions that have been proposed, and if you have any questions about what these ice and propane containers would look like, here's an example from another Quick Trip location. The red cage is for the propane, and this is the standard ice container. As I mentioned, the conditions and restrictions are consistent with other locations in the city. Since this is a conditional use permit amendment, there are a couple of things that are amending the existing conditions and restrictions. First up, the conditions and restrictions are actually so old they don't include a legal description. They are now included here. I lost the screen, but that's okay. Again, all requirements of the City of Oak Creek Municipal Code as amended are in effect. The next couple of pages are pretty much boilerplate from the existing conditional use permit. If you go to section 6, we are on page 4 of 9, we are striking section C that originally prohibited outdoor storage of merchandise, adding section F, fire department connections on the building should not be blocked with any fencing, signage, or landscaping, just making that very clear. You will notice under 6E, on-site filling of liquid propane tanks is prohibited. That's from the original conditional use permit. There's no reason to strike it here, as this is going to be pre-filled tanks. If there are any questions about that, or if that is going to be something that the applicant would like to change, we would have to have a further discussion of that. Under 8, permitted uses, the outdoor storage and display of retail merchandise limited to 1 ice receptacle and 1 propane cage along the south side of the building. No other outdoor storage or outdoor display of any retail merchandise is allowed. Again, keeping consistent with other conditional use permits in the city for the same use.
Carrie, before you get off that one, it really, you said in your original discussion, they're on the southwest corner, not just the south side of the building.
The southwest corner is where they were proposing it. I'm not concerned if they move it to the south
I'm just
or
looking
the
at what's there because.
northwest or
Yeah,
whatever.
well, more cars go through there, and there is some other filling stuff there.
But
That's okay, I don't care, we can leave it there wherever they want.
And I do believe that part of the reason for them to have it located in the proposed location, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, is because Quick Trip is taking over this site, so there's going to be some reconfiguration of the site a little bit. There's going to be more, or there are parking spaces that are right there, so I think it would make sense. It keeps the clutter away from the entrance itself.
I think what you're trying to do is to take, only have an ice receptacle and propane tank, that's the idea of the whole thing.
Exactly, and that the location is where they proposed it.
Okay, yeah.
If they want to put it on, if they want to put it somewhere else, it has to be, we have to have a site plan showing where it's going to be, but you're limited to 1 of each.
Okay.
So if the Plan Commission is satisfied with the conditions and restrictions as proposed, the suggested motion is that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council approves the conditional use permit and adopts the conditions and restrictions for the conditional use permit allowing outdoor storage and display of ice and propane retail merchandise in the property at 6300 South 27th Street after a public hearing. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Now open it up for questions, comments? Nothing from the committee? Brian?
Barry, just to be technical, if we say the south side, would that put it on the south side of the building where they're showing it on the west side of the building?
You want to make sure, you want to specify southwest side?
Well,
I think I would like
if you
that.
put it, if you say south side, then that would just be the south side, or say south half of the building.
Sure.
Something like that.
I would encourage the most flexibility as zoning
Yeah.
administrator. I don't need to be hounding people if it's on the south side, west side.
They're showing the location on the west side of the building. So if the applicant is okay with the west side of the building,
He's indicating
Okay.
yes.
Duly noted and changed.
Okay.
Anybody else? Commissioner Chandler?
Just for safety purposes, are there any additional safety precautions that have to occur with the propane storage area?
It's what we see typically throughout the city. Again, they're caged, they're locked, an attendant needs to come out and service you when you come for that.
I don't think the fire department has ever expressed concern in the past.
No, as long as they're in in the designated location along the side of the building, as long as they're not underneath the fueling canopy and as long as the access to them is restricted. There are requirements that they would have to follow that are outside of the scope of the municipal code.
And they do have the bollards in front of them to prevent somebody from running into them, hopefully. Okay. Nothing else? Motion, please.
Hickman makes a motion, the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council approves a conditional use permit and adopts the conditions and restrictions for the conditional use permit, allowing outdoor storage and display of ice and propane retail merchandise on the property at 6300 South 27th Street after a public hearing.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Hickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Right. That brings us to adjournment.
Perillo moves to adjourn at 7:06.
Lorick seconds.
Roll call.
Hickman, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and as always, I'd like to thank our staff for being very well prepared. Very smooth meeting. Thank you all. And again, to our IT guy, Tim, excellent job as usual. Again, please get out there, discover, and celebrate Oak Creek. Thank you.